Yo, what up, guys? This is Ivan, and today we're going to be doing a booktube about Arcadia, written by Tom Stoppard. Well, this guy was born in Czechoslovakia in 1939, at the same time that he and his family had to run from the Nazis to Singapore. Right after they could flee, they had to move on to Australia, but only he and his mother, because his father, well, he died during Singapore conflicts with Japan. Um, at that time, Tom was only 4. He eventually moved to England in 1946 and became a journalist after high school, though he actually never went to college. Apart from Arcadia, we have to take into account that he's written many more plays, such as Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead in the 60s, To Our Awe. He even collaborated in the very famous play Shakespeare in Love. Tom also wrote from many sources, such as quantum mechanics and communist era soccer. And Arcadia doesn't really fit into any of these playwright movement, but it does intertwine with real-world and historical events, such as Isaac Newton's theories. And what's more, Thomasina, who is a very clever mathematician in the book, is based on a lady named Ida Lovelace, daughter of Lord Byron, again another character of our book. This guy understood the potential of computers long even before they were invented, and she even wrote the very first computer program, an algorithm meant to be completed by a machine, though it wasn't until many years later that this could be done. Well, in this play, we need to take into account that we will be reading events that took place in not only one but two different eras. The first one in 1809, and the second one in the modern days. At first, they seem to differentiate well, but as we continue reading, this temporal space gets kind of confused. Well, this is 1809, and the location is a salon of a very big house where Thomasina is being educated by Sestimus. Somehow they end up talking about carnal embrace, a truly comic moment. In the meantime, Noakes, the gardener, has discovered an affair between Mrs. Charter, a house guest, and Sestimus. Therefore, Mr. Charters wants to face Septimus, he wants to duel him. So, but Septimus, because he knew he wasn't a very good swordman, he tried to evade this fight by complimenting a very truly awful book written by Mr. Charter, The Coach of Errors, and promising that Septimus will give him a very good review. Well, we move on to the second scene. It begins in the present day with Bernard, a scholar who is meeting Hannah, another scholar, who is studying the garden of the hermit. She thinks this is a symbol for romanticism, but Bernard happens to be interested in the catch of Eros. Uh, at this time, Hannah discovers that Bernard is the same guy who wrote a very ugly review of her previous book. But Bernard is trying to not seem guilty for that. Bernard here believes that he's found evidence that not only Chatter coincided with Byron at Sydney Park, but that the very same Byron killed him. So he thought that Byron is a murderer, and he will try to prove this throughout the book. Here we also get to know Valentine, Gus, and Chloe, 3 other characters that are the current residents of the house, Sydney Park. In the next scene, we go back to 1809, where Thomasina is anxiously trying to read Latin, but she doesn't like it, so she drops it. Starts with maths, which is the subject she loves the most. Here she states that she's trying to find an expression, a formula that will be able to express the form of an apple leaf. Yeah, that hard. She also expresses her sadness about the fire that killed all the ancient literature that we could find in Alexandria. Here we have Chatter and Septimus again, um, because he has discovered that Septimus not only gave him a good review, but he gave him the worst review ever. So he duels him, and Septimus, knowing that he has no escape, accepts the duel. It's in number 4. Here we have Valentine and Hannah discussing about an old maths notebook that they found. Notebook which happened to belong to Thomasina. Valentine discovered that she was making patterns with iteration. A very hard thing. This is a modern technique that is used nowadays in doctoral researchers. Nothing about the ancient era. Bernal is still trying to prove that Byron is a murderer. He finds out that he indeed spent time together in the house. And Valentine also tells him that Byron's hunting was recorded on a book. So he goes straight to look for that good to look for that book to prove that what he was saying is totally true. The next scene is takes place in the present with Bernard reading a paper stating that Byron is the murderer. So he states that he's found actual proof that Byron murdered Chatter. But Valentine discovered that Bernard has purposely not written or ignored information which could lead to the other way around. So Hannah and Valentine here discuss about the hermit, a guy who was obsessed with maths, just like Thomasina. Who could this guy be? Scene number 6. We're almost at the end. We discover that Chatter, Bryce, and Byron had already left that morning, as Mrs. Chatter had been found with Byron, and because of that, the duel that we had always been expecting, we were expecting blood, is cancelled. We won't see blood here, unfortunately. But right before knowing that, right before Septimus knew that they had left, he had written a love letter, goodbye love letter to Lady Krum. Now, last but not least, we are in the last scene where, as I told you before, past and present overlaps. While Bernard and Chloe discuss about his paper, Valentine found that Thomasina's algorithm would have made her famous because that was something that really not meant to be discovered that soon in time. So here we get to know that unfortunately Thomasina died the day before she turned 17. Such a pity. And now we can see Thomasina in that night, the night she would turn 17 with Septimus, who finally understand Thomasina's algorithm. At the same time, Hannah proves that Bernard was wrong, so Bernard gets upset and leaves as well. Um, Gus also proves that Septimus was the hermit who went mad, who went crazy after Thomasina's death and became a hermit. He wasn't meant to be a hermit, but because of her death, she became one. So As you have been able to see, there are several levels in this play. You could read the play just focusing on the relationship between the characters, but you could also read it as a mystery play. Bernard is trying to figure out whether Byron killed Chowder or not. Even in a deepest level, we can find out how everything is truly connected. Nothing is left to chance. Everything is meant to be there. And that's all, folks. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button and like.